Time for acceptance of offer and counteroffer and effective date. Don't give your seller a week to shop your property, because that listing agent is going to do just what that listing agent should do the minute they receive your offer. They're going to call everyone who's ever walked through the door of that house or toured it virtually online, and they're going to say, hey, we have another offer. If you're interested, let me know, because we're on a short leash here. Paragraph 3B. The effective date of the contract shall be the date when the last one of the buyer and seller has signed or initialed and delivered this offer or final counter offer effective date. Those two little words, and delivered, make this a very difficult concept, because you don't know what and delivered means, and I don't know what and delivered means, because we haven't had a court tell us what it means. Unfortunately, with residential real estate, because lawyers are expensive, we don't have a great deal of case law to use as guide. I recommend that whether you're the listing agent or the buyer's agent, you send an email to the other side. And that email is going to say, the purpose of this email, and Chris can send you this language. Chris, I know Joellen has it. The purpose of this email is to confirm the effective date of the contract by and between Sally Jones and Fred Smith is August 18th, 2020. I ask for your reply email confirming the same. When they confirm it, the next thing you need to do is calendar your critical dates and share that calendar with everyone. Share it with the other agent, share it with the buyer, share it with the seller, share it with the lender. By all means, share it with the lender. But the other agent doesn't respond to me. They didn't respond to my email. Pick up the telephone. People are adverse to the telephone today. They can't use it. They won't use it. My kids are pretty sure that this is a texting machine. It's not. It's an effective date. Use it to call to confirm the effective date and get them to send you an email. They won't respond to my phone call. Call their broker. It's the broker's contract anyway. Call the broker. It's that important, because you can't calendar your critical dates without knowing the correct effective date. And you would be surprised how often I have agents who disagree as to the effective date. And it doesn't matter if they think the effective date is the 19th and you think it's the 18th, agree to the 19th. Now calendar your critical dates, just so that you can properly calendar your dates. That's the key. Closing date. Keep in mind.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
Jim, real quick, we did have a question. Does that include all documents included in the contract? Would you recommend that?
I would try to do that. Riders and addenda are not required to make the contract a binding agreement. But yeah, I would certainly make every effort to get all of the documents.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Keep in mind your closing date has a relationship to your financing contingency. Just a month or so ago, my neighbor's house was under contract. Realtors can be lazy, lawyers can be lazy, we can all be lazy. They had a 30-day closing. The realtor allowed the financing contingency to remain blank. When it remains blank, it's 30 days. The day of closing, The buyer came in, canceled the contract, and got their money back. My neighbor was stunned. And did the buyer do anything wrong? No. I mean, it was the shock factor for the seller. What do you mean they're getting their money back? They can't do that. We're closing today. Yeah, they can. I like to have the financing contingency expire at least a week to 10 days before the closing date. Also keep in mind, when you extend the closing date, that doesn't necessarily extend the financing contingency. So, you better make sure you're going to get that loan, because you're going to extend yourself outside of the financing contingency when you extend that closing date. Can we go to the next page, Chris?
Hey, Jim, real quick, we had another question pop up.
Okay.
What if the box is checked and the addendum disclosure is incorporated into the contract?
What if the box is checked? I'm not sure which box you're referring to. Are you referring to a box at the end of the contract?
Let me see.
Freddie's asking business day or calendar days. This contract is calendar days. However, if any time period ends on a Saturday, Sunday, or legal holiday, it's extended to 5 p.m. of the next business day. So if you're, in fact, we had a situation where $25,000 earnest money deposit, and this is going to litigation, $25,000 earnest money deposit at 4:51 on Monday, because the time period, the inspection period ended on a Sunday, so it went to 5 p.m. the next business day. At 4:51 on Monday, the buyer emailed his realtor that he wanted to cancel the contract. Buyer, again, afraid to pick up the telephone. He just emailed. The realtor didn't see the email until 6 o'clock. She tried to cancel the contract at 6 o'clock, and the listing agent said no. It's past 5 o'clock. Now, heads up, the contract does not say what time of day you have to cancel. Is it 5 p.m.? If the inspection period expires on a Wednesday, is it 5 p.m. Wednesday, or is it 11:59 Wednesday? The contract does not say. You don't know, and I don't know. I urge realtors to use 5 o'clock. I have literally been on the phone with two realtors screaming at each other. It ended at 5 p.m. No, it didn't. It ends at 11:59. I don't know. It doesn't say. I urge you to use 5 p.m. Can we go to the next page, Chris?
Yeah, let me, Kathy, Kathy's the one that asked the most recent. Do you want me to take you off mute, Kathy? Kathy, you should be able to chat now.
Oh, good. Hey, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate that. My question was about the incorporated addenda and disclosures from paragraph 19, where you have all the addenda listed and you can check a box, and it says the following additional terms are included in the attached addenda or riders and incorporated into this contract.
Yeah, and if it's one of those, then I think it should be included.
I mean, that my understanding, or and I want to be careful because I'm teaching agents what to do, right? I just want to make sure that I'm saying that I think you don't have an executed contract if you've got an addenda that's incorporated.
Again, we don't have any case law to guide us. My gut is that you're correct. And I guess my other feeling is, why wouldn't it be executed and incorporated? Because it says it's going to be incorporated in the contract.
Right. And yet we have agents who send the HOA disclosure over 3 days later And the box is checked. If the box isn't checked, it doesn't matter. It's just a freestanding document. But if it's checked, then,
Correct. Correct.
and if everybody wants to close, it's no big deal.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, and you could make the argument that by delivering it 3 days later, they cured the breach. If the buyer didn't cancel during the breach, the argument would be they've cured the breach.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, Jim, on a follow-up, let me see. So we have about 30 minutes left, and you got about 11 pages left of the contract. So I'm gonna go to number 2. So it's
Okay.
speed. It's like speed dating now. So
Yeah. I'm sorry. I tend to be long-winded. Paragraph 5A. It seemed pretty innocuous when they first put it in the contract in 2013, but it can be serious. It gives a buyer an immediate extension of up to 10 days if the buyer's lender has not met CFPB requirements, that being the delivery of the closing disclosure, which has to happen 3 days prior to closing. You don't need an addendum. No one has to agree to anything. It's already in the contract. 5 or up to 10 business or up to 10 days extension. Even if the buyer is a scallywag who never gave the lender anything, they get the extension. Occupancy, and I'm not going to talk about force majeure, although we are in the season that makes us all force majeure savvy, but that's the hurricane in the box. Paragraph 6A, occupancy and possession. Occupancy and possession occur at closing. The seller gets the money, the buyer gets the keys. The seller doesn't get the money, the buyer doesn't get the keys. Don't let them move in early. Don't let them stay late. So I'll try to be brief, but I'm 26 years old. I'm building houses for my dad. I built a house for a wonderful young couple, the Joneses. They have 2 little kids. Everything went swimmingly. I come into the community about 6:30 on the day they're supposed to close. Mrs. Jones flags me down, and the moving truck is there. Jimmy, can we get the keys to start moving in? We're meeting your dad at 10:30. Jimmy gives them the keys. My beeper goes off, and I go to the Minute Market, put my dime in the phone, and I call my dad. And he says, "Hey, Jimmy, where are the Joneses? They're not here yet." "Oh, they're probably still moving their stuff in." There was an awkward pause. It took us 6 months to get the Joneses out of our house. We could no longer sell it as new construction. I was in a lot of trouble. I couldn't go to the office. I couldn't go home to eat. I had to learn how to do my own laundry. It was not a pretty sight. Sometimes they have to stay late. Sometimes they have to move in early. You need a lease. Problem was we could not evict these people because we were not their landlord. They were not our tenant. We did not have a lease. We had to file what's called an unlawful detainer action. And their defense was everything in the world was wrong with that house. So don't let them stay early. Don't let them move in early. Don't let them stay late. Assignability, don't let the buyer assign your contract. I had a situation in Apollo Beach a year or so ago. It was marked assignable. It was a $1 million contract. Buyer assigned it for $1.1 million. He made $100,000, and that was a very unhappy seller the day of closing when she learned that her original buyer made $100,000 that she left on the table. Financing, A, cash Buyer will pay cash. It used to say will pay cash or may obtain a loan. They took or may obtain a loan out. Cash means cash. So we had a situation a while back. A buyer was getting a loan on that house to buy this house, but the agent convinced her to check 8A, cash. Naturally, the buyer could not obtain a loan on that house, so the buyer couldn't buy this house. The agent had encouraged her to make a $25,000 deposit on a $450,000 house. She refused to tender the deposit to the seller. The seller sued. The seller was awarded the deposit, and you know what happened next. Emails got involved because the buyer sued her realtor because her realtor had encouraged her to pay, to mark cash and to make that large a deposit. The buyer had to do, the agent had to do, was put in paragraph 20 that the financing provision set forth in paragraph 8B shall apply to the buyer's ability to obtain a loan on the real property located at 123 Main Street. Now you have a financing contingency. I'm not going, the financing contingency, paragraph 8B, you need to fill in those blanks. Don't be lazy. Don't leave it 30 days if you're going to have a closing, because I can tell you, my neighbor, she sold her house, and then her boyfriend, now fiance, who lives across the street, he subsequently sold his house. And if it hadn't been for that shot factor, she would have listed the second house with the same agent. But because she was so angry that the first buyer was able to cancel the day of closing and get their money back, she listed with a different agent. And they had already found a third home to move into, to buy. So they wanted a quick sale. His house sold in 8 hours for $725,000. That realtor had a pretty good day. You need to fill in all the blanks, setting forth what type of loan it's going to be. There was a recent case out of Miami where they had put conventional loan on the contract. They ended up switching to a FHA. They didn't do an addendum, got into an earnest money dispute, and the seller was awarded the deposit because the buyer had switched loan products. If the buyer doesn't cancel within the financing contingency period, the contract, and they don't have loan approval, the contract goes forward as if loan approval had been obtained. The contingency is removed. Be very careful. I think realtors need excellent partners. I think you need a really good title company that's going to stay in communication with you. I think you need a really good home inspector who's actually going to inspect the home. I think you need a really good lender who's not going to lie to you. The last thing you want, because when you receive loan approval, the contract requires that you notify the seller in writing, thus removing the contingency. So if you get a loan approval that's filled with so many conditions that your buyer's never going to be able to obtain that loan, you just took aim and shot your earnest money deposit to death. You need a really strong loan approval. Lenders don't calendar the contingency date. I have a question that I can't read.
Hey, Jim, I'll read you 2 questions kind of came up. So first one,
Okay.
I have a listing agent who has both FHA and conventional checked on the contract and she did not catch it and is in a panic. Is this okay? What should she do? So
She
checks
should
both
go,
on
she
the
should go
contract.
back to the buyer, find out which type of loan they're going to actually make, and they should addend the contract.
Got it. Thanks, Jim. Next question. Can you elaborate about the mortgage loan commitment letters? I get those letters from the lender with conditions and I am afraid to deliver them like that. Any suggestions? Do I have to wait until a clear to close instead?
That's an excellent question. I've asked the same of committee members. The committee is made up of 11 realtors and 11 lawyers. They took real estate standard T out of the contract in 2017. I could read it as you need a clear to close. The committee members have told me that was not their intent, that it can't, the loan approval can have conditions. So based on the drafter's intent, I would say it can have conditions. I wish they hadn't removed real estate standard T. It defined loan commitment, but they took it out.